on the earth plane, we have really not seen unconditional love. Nowadays, 80% is not spiritual, and only 20% is spiritual. We're on a timeline. We have to do this now, and we have to do it well.
If you don't humble yourself, it will humble you.
The soul is to the body as the spirit is to God. The soul changes with each incarnation because it has different purposes. The spirit, on the other hand, the one that's of God, never changes. Mankind is in a very difficult position now.
I'd like to welcome back to the show the ultimate returning champion, Connie H. Deutsch. How you doing, Connie?
I don't think I've ever been called the ultimate anything.
You are by far the ultimate returning champion, because not only have you been on the show, I think now 5 times, I think this is the 5th time you've been on the show. You're one of the earliest shows that we did. And you know, you have a very special place in my heart, as many people who've watched you on the show before understand.
And you have a very special place in my heart.
Exactly. So for it should after 27 years, there's no question. So just so anybody who's just tuning in for the first time and they're like, what is this love fest between these two? What's going on? I'll give the quick Reader's Digest version of our meeting, and then you can add in your point of view, like from what happened on your point of view. I met Connie when I was 23. She has been my spiritual guide for the last 27 years. She's the one that introduced me to Yogananda, Reincarnation, Edgar Cayce, and 1,000 other things that introduced me into my spiritual life. And she helped me with the deprogramming of back in the day, my Catholic upbringing and programming. And she helped me open my mind a bit more to other ideas, other roads of thought, if you will, in the spiritual space. And she is the reason why this show exists. It was her. It was Connie that told me to open up a spiritual podcast, which it would have never in a million years occurred to me. So if you like the show, thank this lady in the comments, because she is responsible for the show's existence. I'm carrying the heavy weight, but she dropped and I'm dealing with all of it. But she's the one that helped me. She's the one that planted the seed. She's the little pebble at the top of the mountain that rolled down and gathered into this giant boulder that is now Next Level Soul. But it all started with the little pebble at the top of the hill. And it is all because of Connie. So that is my version of events. You tell me yours.
Yeah, you got it pretty close.
Okay. From your point of view, how the thing I love about you, Connie, is that your patience has been, I mean, I've never seen somebody with so much patience for the work that they do. I know you're not a patient person as a general statement, as you've told me before.
Oh, that's the understatement of the century.
Yeah. But you met me at 23, and I was so far from that person when I was 23 to where I am right now.
But I could see your potential.
That's what I'm saying. You actually told me, like, I knew exactly where you were going to go. I knew how you were going to get there, but it was going to be a long process. A lot of fear, a lot of, oh my God, who's out to get me? Oh my God, when's my mentor showing up? Oh my God, when am I going to hit it big in Hollywood? All these kind of ridiculous questions that I had when I was a younger man. You helped me through it with the patience of an angel. Mind you, as I say, patience of an angel with a sledgehammer. So,
well, of course,
not kid gloves by any stretch of the imagination. There's something called tough love here throughout these years.
I don't own a pair of kid gloves.
So, no, it's been so wonderful. Not only having you be my guide through this lifetime, but also me being able to bring you into the light and out of the shadows, if you will. You did have a public life before, where you had your own radio show and you wrote many books and things like that, but then you kind of retreated from the public eye for a long time.
50
Uh,
years.
Something like that. Yeah. So even when I met you, you had already gone past that time period in your life. And and then now I'm glad I was the one who helped reintroduce you to the world. And our videos together have been watched literally millions of times across multiple languages. So that gives me a little warm, fuzzy inside that I'm able to do that for you and
Uh,
introduce people to your work.
well, I love my work and I love you. So it's a
Oh.
good combination.
So in this we've spoken about a lot of things, Connie. In the past, we've talked about Atlantis, your past life in Atlantis, my past life in Atlantis. We've spoken about many different subjects, but today I wanted to kind of dive into what's not only what's happening in the world, but how we're dealing with it and what's the cause of a lot of the stuff that's happening in the world. Negative and positive, because I do believe there's a tremendous amount of positive things happening in the world, a lot of good energy, a lot of people awakening, a lot of people looking and searching and seeking for answers outside of the institutions that they might have grown up to or grown up with, or were kind of programmed as a child with. People are searching. So I do believe there's a lot of good, um, a lot of good things happening. But there is also rocky things, and you cannot ignore. You can't put your ostrich, you can't be the ostrich, put your head in the ground and hope it just walks by you. There are other things that are happening throughout the world. So the big question I have for you is why, this is a pretty big question. Why do we as a species, as humanity, am so driven by fear? So many people, fear and greed, in many ways, but fear is, I think, a dominating factor in most people's lives in one way, shape, or form. Why is that? And what can we do to overcome it, Connie?
Well, that's not one of your little questions. That's one of your bigger ones.
Yeah, that's why I told you this is not an easy. It's not. I expect nothing less from you. I'm not going to throw you softballs, girl. I'm going to throw you the heavy hitter. You're like the big. You're the big,
You're
Hall of
getting
Famer
back
up
at
there.
me.
You're like Babe Ruth. You're coming up to the debate. I'm gonna throw a heater. I can't just throw a softball at you.
Aw, I was looking for a softball.
Not on this show, my dear. Not you, and not on this show. It's called payback for the last 27 years. Go ahead.
Do I have any kind of stuff like in reserve?
Maybe later. Maybe later. Maybe later.
Okay.
So tell me.
Oh, okay. What my channel has told me is that mankind is in a very difficult position now because when this Constitution was written, it was about, what, 200 years ago?
Over 200 years ago, yeah.
The population was 80% spiritual and 20% not spiritual. Nowadays, 80% is not spiritual and only 20% is spiritual. So my channel told me that these numbers have to be reversed very soon. Because if they're not reversed very soon, then mankind will cease to exist. We will become as extinct as the dinosaur. On that note, my channel gave me a homework assignment.
Uh-oh.
Now, in all my life, and I've had this channel all of my life, I have never gotten a homework assignment for my channel. I always give homework assignments. In fact, I'm known for them. But I've never received one. And this was not a little one. This was huge. And the channel said, your homework assignment is to reverse these numbers. And you have to reverse them pretty soon, or you're not going to get another chance. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you reverse something like this? We're talking probably maybe 1 trillion people. How do I
there's not there's not 1 trillion people. There's about 8.9 billion people on the planet. So,
okay. Oh, that makes me feel so much better.
So it's not as crazy as you think. And also, you're also not very good at numbers, as you've told me before. So that makes all the sense in the world that you said 1 trillion people.
Okay, 1 billion people?
At least 1 billion, but there's, I think, 8.9, 9 billion, 7 billion, something around that on the planet. I don't know exact numbers.
Well, it was still overwhelming when I heard it.
Oh, yeah, 1 billion people is 1 billion people.
Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, I can tell a few people. I didn't think it was going to be millions, and I certainly didn't think it was going to be billions. So it's like we're on a timeline. We have to do this now, and we have to do it well. We have to make people care about one another. We have to make them become more compassionate. We have to make them aware that there are other people in this world besides them, that there are things that are even more important than they are. That's a lot of reconstruction going on. And how do you reach all these people? Now, you have this program, which is a huge factor in reaching people. And for that, I'm very grateful, because I wouldn't know how to go about it. I really wouldn't.
I'm an extension of your homework assignment.
God, yes. You were from the moment I was told that you were coming into my life. And by the way, I was told that you were coming into my life.
You were waiting for a crazy little Cuban kid.
Well, I didn't know what you looked like. I didn't know what you sounded like. I didn't know anything about you other than I had to wait for you. And I had to wait until you were introduced to your ascended master. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I do that?
This is going to take a minute. This is going to take a minute.
Yeah, well, it took more than a minute. It's still in the process, I want you to know.
Yeah, I know. I haven't been speaking to an ascended master recently, so it hasn't come in just yet.
Well, I think I have.
I'm sure you have.
It's just that I see him so clearly, but I've never actually spoken to him. Every time I used to meditate, this face would come into my vision. And I saw this for, oh God, probably about 20 years, something like that. And then once I got to a certain point, he disappeared from my life. And then I had 2 years of nothingness. All my visions disappeared. All my knowledge of everything disappeared. I used to be getting pictures of things, and I could see these things happening. I could see if I was told that I was going to be seeing cobblestones on a pathway, by the next day, there would be those cobblestones on a pathway. And it always happened that way. I was able to see exactly what was coming and when it was coming. And then all of a sudden, nothing. And that went on for 2 years. And I kept thinking to myself, am I getting less spiritual? Is that what's happening to me? Because nothing is happening. And I think God was probably making sure that I was developing something called patience. Now, you know from working with me, I'm the least patient person you've ever met.
That's very true.
I know. And I tried being patient and still wasn't happening. I still wasn't seeing anything.
Mm.
And I wasn't hearing anything. And usually I would get some kind of verbal something, or I would see it, or I would have a combination of it, or it would wake me up. And nothing, it was like dead silence. The video went off screen.
Yeah, someone unplugged the television.
Yeah. And then
Well,
I
Connie,
had to figure out how to get back on it. And that
well,
took 2 years.
so Connie, when you say that, we need to become more spiritual, I mean, as 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 the awakening has been happening with people and humanity's consciousness is changing vibration, changing frequency. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about it because a show like ours would have never worked 5 to 10 years ago. It wouldn't have had the impact that
No,
it's having right now. So the timing is divine as always, as spirit always is, in its timing. So we are becoming more spiritual in many ways. I think your homework assignment is working and you're not the only one doing it. So you don't have to burden the entire thing on your shoulders. There's people like me, there's many other messengers out there who are trying to raise the consciousness of humanity. Even individuals watching this show are trying to do it within their family, within their friends group, within their community, just by being who they are. So there is a lot of positivity and it is moving. But when you say that if we, and think I have the answer to this, but when you say that if we don't make that shift, that 80/20 has to jump back the other way again, where we're more
or at least
spiritual,
in the process of it.
at least moving. And I think we are in the process. I do believe we're in the process of it because people are searching, Connie. People are searching for answers
Yes,
because their
they
institutions, their governments, their companies, their everything, they're not it's almost like the Wizard of Oz. The curtain has been pulled back and people are like, "Oh, it's not the great and powerful Oz. It's a dude pulling some levers behind a curtain." And then there's the mistrust. Then there's like, "Well, if there is no Oz, what's real?" When I thought this was real the entire time. So, where do you think we're going to be going as we continue to move down this road as a consciousness?
actually I can see that very clearly.
Mhm.
It's getting there. That's the problem for me.
So you see,
Because
so you see
I'm
the
impatient.
you see the other end. You see the other end where we're on the other end of
Oh
this,
yeah.
on the other side of this.
I saw it from day one.
Okay.
When I met you, I already knew about it.
Hmm.
I've known about this for the last 70 years.
So in the last 70 years, as you've known about this, Connie, I have to believe that you, especially in the early years, you're like, this sounds crazy.
I know I
I
never
mean,
did.
never, you always just said, oh, this is where it's going to be, but you were just waiting to see how things changed around you, essentially.
I knew that I couldn't talk to anyone about it. I was living in Florida at the time, and in Florida, we have laws on the book that say if you are a psychic, you will be put in jail.
Yes. I think they
No,
changed that, but I think they
no,
changed
they
that
did
since
not
then.
change that.
Really?
Really, it is still in existence.
Okay.
And I was going to a, a psychic's house when I got back from England. I had an appointment with a psychic that I had made before I went to England, which was a month before. So on the way back, I went to the psychic's house and I see she's packing everything. And I felt like I was intruding and did she know that she had an appointment with me? And I said, what are you doing? She said, I have to be out of here within 24 hours or I go to jail. I said, what are you talking about? And she's the one who told me about this law. She said, there is a law that says if you are a psychic, you serve jail time. I went home and I called all my clients who were coming in from around the world. They were coming in for all kinds of stuff. And it was mind-boggling when she was saying it. And I said to her, well, who's going to take your place? You know, you're writing things for people in verse, poetry. You're giving all kinds of remedies in verse. Who has that kind of ability? Who's going to take your place? She didn't bat an eyelash. She said, you are. And I said, no, I'm not. And on the way home, and we had an hour's drive home, I'm thinking to myself, I don't have to tell anyone that I'm supposed to be taking her place. I can just pretend it doesn't exist because I'll never be able to do it. And I get into the house and the telephone rings and it's someone who wants a health reading. I think to myself, I don't know what the hell is going on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, what do you mean? Want to help me? And I couldn't say it. It was something that was holding me back. And now, of course, I understand it was my channel that was holding me back. But I didn't know then. And I could see what was happening in slow motion, and then it speeded up. And I didn't know what to make of that either. So this has been a progression. And that was just a little bit in advance of knowing that I was going to be meeting you.
So, all right. So you said earlier that you kind of, and I've said this for a while now, that we're going to go through a rough patch, and it's going to be a while that we're going to be going through this rough patch because we're changing. There is a metamorphosis happening to humanities, and it's going to be a little rocky. But on the other side of it, it is going to be as beautiful as anything that I can even imagine moving
I
forward.
thought.
Yeah. So can you explain to us what that rocky part is going to be like, for how long that's going to last, and on the other end of it, what can we expect at the end of this rainbow?
We have to start speeding up our spirituality part.
Mm-hmm.
We have to awaken more people, and we have to let them see the larger dimension of life, that they are not the be all end all, that there's life on this planet, there's also life on other planets.
Mm.
And we're working toward it, but I don't think most people have seen the other life. I was taken out of my body, probably about the time that I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was being shown that this was coming. And I had no one I could talk to about it because nobody was discussing this in those days.
Oh, yeah. Right.
No one. There were no books, no nothing. And I remember going to the very first meditation class. And I look around and everyone is sitting on the floor. They look like, well, they were wearing like shirts that had holes in them, jeans that showed the rear end, socks that had holes in them. And I'm being told to sit down on the floor, find a place, and they're like cheek to jowl. And I'm looking down and I thought to myself, my God, if my parents ever saw this, they would be grabbing me back to the house and not letting me stay and not letting me out of the house for the next 50 years.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I would agree.
So it's been that kind of, it's been an exploratory thing for me because I was always accustomed to keeping a very solitary life. My thoughts were solitary. I always felt that I had a certain communication with God. I didn't know what it was called. I mean, this is all before her books came out
Hmm.
on the subject.
Yeah. You're not that old.
Well, there are times I feel that old.
No, you're definitely not old enough to remember when there were no books, Connie.
You know that I have been able to see a past life in prehistoric times
Interesting. Interesting. You went that far back, huh?
completely. I was able to see it.
That's another podcast. Continue. Good. That's a whole other podcast. We'll get into the Jurassic Park, Connie, later. I know there were no dinosaurs at the time, but you know what I mean. But moving forward, all right. So we need to keep changing. So
Yes.
what's happening from what does your channel tell you in regards to the rest of this year, which has already started off with a hell of a bang, no question about what's happening in the world, and after that, the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, you can't leave out what's coming up in the next 5 years
Right. That's what I said. Yeah.
because that is the prelude to what's going to be happening. From my perspective, we have to start at a higher rate than we ever started before. We have to become more aware. We have to become more giving. We have to see that there are other people in this world other than ourselves. We have to have more generosity of spirit. And I don't see a whole lot of that. I see patches of it here and there in the other place, but that's not everyone. That's not big numbers. The only thing that I can say about that is that in my experience, monkey sees what monkey does. So if enough people see that we are leaving room in our lives for something greater than we are, then that in itself will help other people to see the same thing for themselves. And it would be like a rolling stone that's gathering moss as it's going down the hill.
As I said this earlier. Yeah.
And it will expand, keep expanding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm looking for, because that will be the beginning of our turnaround. And we have to experience that. And I was told that about 70 years ago. Okay. But there was no one I could talk to about it. Either that or go to jail.
Well, now you have a show. Now you have a podcast that you could talk about it too. I mean, you're telling everybody now. It's Connie gone wild. I mean, she's let loose.
You're going to regret saying that. Alex is still the telephone. I can still track you down.
I know. But so I love what you're saying and it's obviously the recipe for what ails us right now is to understand that we're not alone. We are not these individual personalities. We are part of a collective. We are connected to consciousness at a much higher level. We are all one. When you hurt somebody else, you're hurting yourself. It's that simple. Jesus talked about it. Buddha talked about it. All the great masters have said this truth that we're so much more than just human. This is just a suit that we're walking around in, having this experience. And it is our job in an incarnation to remember who we are, to remember the truth of who we are and why we're here. And once you're able to do that at a very high level, then you become a master, you become an ascended master when you understand the truth of it all. Does that make sense, Connie?
I'm experiencing it, so yes, it makes a lot of sense.
You're waking up as well. You're waking up as well. So all right, so during these next 5 years, well, for the rest of this year, let's just focus on that. What does your channel talk about the rest of this year? Because it seems to be getting rockier and rockier with the stock market going crazy and the wars around the world and food and health insurance and Hollywood and media, all that stuff. Where do you see this year going?
Exactly the way you just said,
All those things continuing to break down?
and expanding beyond that. Yeah,
What do you mean? What do you mean?
more of them.
More things cracking, more things being torn
Yeah,
down in many ways?
the way I'm looking
Uh,
at it is this.
mhm.
I have this feeling that we're in a growth spurt, so to
Hmm.
speak, where everything has to come to a grinding halt and be destroyed before we can plant new seeds and see it grow in a different direction. And that's what your show does. It's planting new seeds. In fact, one of the reviews that I read, and I don't usually read reviews, but on this day, I read this particular review. And it said, it was addressed to me, and it said, "Thank you for planting those seeds." I have no idea who this person is or what seeds I had planted.
You know what's really interesting, Connie? I heard this the other day and I thought it was so beautiful. And it's such an example of what's happening to us right now. In nature, everything you just said is in nature, innately
Yes,
in nature. So I'll explain. The example I was given is there are trees in the forest, and I'm paraphrasing, so I'm not an expert, but the trees in the forest have a certain seed in their leaves or in their branches or somewhere that are covered in some sort of sap. That those seeds cannot be allowed to be released until they are burned. Until they are burned and the sap melts, hence giving the ability for it to regrow. So when there is a forest fire, that is why all of a sudden things start to grow out of it because all of those seeds are released into fertile ground now that's been burned down. The ground is now fertile. It's not pleasant to see what happened, but it is part of the cycle. It is part of nature. It is part of the renewing of nature. But I found it so magical that it literally is in the makeup of the design of this tree where these seeds will not flourish unless they are burned until they feel the heat of the destruction and then it melts to a point where then they can find soil and grow from there. Have you heard of that before? And what do you think of that?
yes,
That, sorry. What do you think of that? Isn't that amazing?
I heard about that 70 years ago.
A lot of things happened 70 years ago, Connie. I keep hearing a cycle here.
Well, I'm old. What can I tell you?
I'm old. What are you going to tell me? I'm old. Um, Genius. Um, but I use that analogy because it's so people understand what we're going through. I do talk about this a lot on the show. And it's not to alarm people, but it's to make them aware of what's happening so they can understand their environment, they can understand what's happening in the world, and how they can help not only themselves, but the people around them to make it
They
true.
wait, they have to do that.
Exactly.
There is no if. They have to do that. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to progress to the next level. And that's what we're doing. We're evolving. So whatever you
And
see in this life now, just know that this is the beginning stages of what we're going toward.
what are we going towards, Connie? Can you tell people?
But right now, it's the going towards part that's painful
Mm.
because we still see a lot of poverty in our land. We still see greed and selfishness
Hmm.
and indifference to people's problems. That's the hard part of what we're facing. And that's the hard part that we're going to have to overcome. Your show is planting seeds.
Hmm.
No more, no less. So whatever seeds you're planting are going to bear fruit. So be careful what you plant because it's going to flourish.
So all these seeds that we're planting, and I understand what you mean. I mean, we've been watched almost 200 million times at this point, and which is insane. That's a lot of seeds, and they might not flourish right now because that
It
person
won't.
is it's not ready yet. The ground is not it's not fertile enough for it to say,
No.
but the seed is sitting there waiting, waiting, kind of like in the sap, waiting for the fire to come so it can melt and go into the dirt so it can start to flourish and take root. And that's what we're going through right now. We're going through the burning off process.
Well, your show is an example of this. Very much so. Because you're planting seeds without even knowing it.
That is the truth, Ruth.
When I heard the first show, and that was,
2021.
I know that part,
Mm-hmm.
but that was without seeing the people. That was audio. Audio.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out Zoom at the time, so we just did an audio
I
interview. We
don't
had
think
two
there was
audio
Zoom.
interviews. Huh?
Was I don't think there was Zoom at that time.
There was Zoom in 2021. Yes, there was Zoom in 2021, but I wasn't even I don't even think I was using it yet. I think I was still on Skype back then.
Well,
I think I was still on Skype back then, but yeah, it was your first two interviews are in audio, and then the last two are in video, which I finally got you to figure out Zoom. So that's why we get to see your lovely face now, and and
uh,
and put a face to this amazing voice and knowledge that you bring in. So you were saying. So you were saying.
we have people who, some of whom resemble the masters.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't reached the master stage, but you can see the imprint there, or I can see the imprint there.
Mm-hmm.
And it waits for certain times. So some of the things that you think should happen now, and it's not happening, and you've tried everything in the world that you know how to do, and you still are not, that's because it hasn't been time yet. So all the seeds are there. And your show has been bringing around just that point, that it's acknowledging that the seeds are there. And little by little, you're watering them. So it doesn't make any difference whether there are forest fires, whether there's greed and corruption, and all the things that are not nice to look at. They're there. They're waiting for their entrance. And they will know it. You may not know it. The universe knows it. God knows it. So when you look at what you're doing from a microcosm point of view, it's too small for you to see the ramifications of what you're doing. You have enormous influence over a lot of minds. Some of those people will say, nah, that's far-fetched. I don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority won't say that. The majority will be seeing something different. They will be saying, I could be like that. And they will try to emulate you. And that's how your spiritual growth will flourish. It will reach millions of people just by your being here and looking the part, acting the part, and them seeing that you are a spiritual person. The thing that I can't seem to get people to understand is they'll come to me and they'll say they're interested in hearing about their spirituality. And I tell them, you can't separate the two. You are one person who can do spiritual things or things that are not spiritual. But you're the embodiment of everything. So you can either grow your spirituality by doing nice things, or you can stop growing. You can stay greedy and selfish and indifferent to people's problems, and you'll just stay in that little holding space until you're ready. Because maybe you're not ready right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're opening the portal, so to speak, of people's awareness. They see up to a certain point, and for some people, the mind closes down and they don't want to see further. I was taken between lives. I didn't want to come back. It was so gorgeous. It was so unbelievably gorgeous and peaceful and everything else. And the reason I was taken out to see the in-between life was because my mom was dying of cancer. And I guess my channels figured I needed to see the other side to help me through the transition for when she died, because she was my closest friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to come back. And the only reason I came back was because she needed me. Otherwise, I would never have been in this room talking to you.
Fair enough.
Wouldn't have happened because this all happened before I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a very interesting journey. I watched you at 23 years old. You're so different from what you were at 23. You've gone through so many, well, you've gone through a lot of past lives in one lifetime without even knowing it. And I watch these past lives around you and I go, okay, I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that one. And you have a lot of learning that you've already done and still a lot more that you're going to be doing. Because you're going to be a beacon of light to people who can't make it on their own without guidance. And when they see it in living action, that's how they want to replicate it. So I tell them, you are what you do. You are what you think. You are what you say. You can't separate that and say, okay, I'll be spiritual today and I won't be spiritual tomorrow because I'm going to take a vacation tomorrow. You are this one person, this one being, and you are spiritual because you're doing spiritual things. You're thinking along spiritual lines. You're being generous to people who can't do for themselves. You're concerned about everyone, and they see it. And it comes through loud and clear. So you can't say, today I'm going to be part of the spiritual self that I show the world. Because that's not going to happen. They see you as a total being. You know, I've read in one of the theosophical books, the soul is to the body as the spirit is to God. And I thought to myself, okay, that's profound.
Mhm.
Now, what the hell does it mean? So, of course, I went to my channel, and my channel said, you cannot ask those questions. This is not a tea party, Connie. I thought, okay, how do I get the answers? And I could hear the channels saying, patience, 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 and then nothing. I'm not a patient person
Mhm.
at all.
Mhm.
So it's been a very steep learning curve because that is part of spirituality. It is
Well,
part of the things that you had to learn.
and it's not it's not always the easiest path, is it? This learning in the
It's
spiritual
very hard,
space.
very
It,
difficult.
it is very difficult, and the thing is that people, especially now, especially in the West, um, they want things fast. They want things easy. You know, in,
Absolutely.
in many ways, they want the sirloin steak, but they don't want to go out and kill the cow. They don't want to do the work. Essentially, they want the benefits of the work, but they don't want to do the work. And spirituality is one of the ultimate. It is, I think, the ultimate ego buster, where you humble yourself down. If you don't humble yourself, it will humble you. The universe will humble you, I think everybody has been humbled in one way, shape, or form in their lifetime, uh, somehow.
If you
And
ever
you-
want something very badly and
and
you
not
can't
get it.
get it,
Yeah, that's
you are
humbling.
humbled. Yeah.
And the thing is that the spirituality, like when you meditations and spiritual practices, they're not measured in days or weeks or months. They're measured in years and decades of work. That is not some, yeah, and that's only in one lifetime, let alone others. But that is not the mindset of most people from, at least in the West, in the Western world, don't have that kind of understanding. They want things quick. And with that said, there's always a guru somewhere who says, "Oh, I'll take care of you. Oh, you want a little bit faster? Just come, and we'll move you along much, much faster. We'll speed this process up." Where, in all honesty, you can't speed the process up because you have to be able to acclimate as you're moving forward, because if you don't acclimate, you'll get burnt. You'll fry a circuit. You won't be able to handle it. It's kind of like someone who has been, someone who was poor and became rich understands the entire process of how to handle money and resources like that and energy like that. Where if you were poor and all of a sudden you have $1 billion because you won the lottery, that's when things go wonky because they're not ready yet. They haven't acclimated to that kind of wealth, power, influence, and so on. They don't know what to do with it. So that's what spirituality does to a human being. It will make them work little by little. It's like cut the wood, carry the water, cut the wood, carry the water, cut the wood, carry the water. And I'm hoping that people listening to this conversation understand that this is going to take time, not only on an individual standpoint, but on a collective as well.
Both of them are very accurate. They are. I want things
Wait.
yesterday.
Oh, I
I
mean,
can see things. I can see things in the future,
mhm.
but I want to see the future yesterday.
What is the happy ending at the end of this journey for humanity? After we get through all of this, decades from now, or whenever that time is, what does humanity look like after we go through this process?
I think we'll be going through something similar to the golden age of Pericles.
Okay, can you explain?
Yes, where everything was in harmony. Everything was perfect. There was no rough patches. There was no greed. There was no disillusionment. And everything was just perfect. And that's why it was called the Golden Age of Pericles. And I see that some of the things in astrology now are talking about it and not realizing that it's the pattern from the golden age of Pericles that we're going toward. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I have a feeling that it has to be on a fast track.
Oh, I think so too. Things are moving very fast. I mean, things are changing so fast now.
I've been experiencing the higher frequencies now over the past couple of months in a way that I have not before. Every time I go to a different level,
Mhm.
I experience another level of the higher frequencies. And they are unbelievable because you get to see things at that same time that you had not seen before. You know how you can look at something and it looks familiar
Mm-hmm.
and you can't put your finger on it?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going through. That's precisely what we're going through. Because we can feel it, we can see it in our mind's eye. We can see what's in front of us. And we don't know how to categorize it. So some people will bury it, and some people will try to explore it. I would say in the past, there's very little exploration because when you see things like this, it makes you uncomfortable knowing that there's so much that you don't know. And this is something that's waiting for you to learn. And they get intimidated. So some people say, I'll wait till the next lifetime. And some people will say, I want it right now. And those are the people who will actively seek to make it happen. To make it happen. They will see something that looks familiar, and it should, because you've been here so many times, and you're not grasping it, but you know you're going toward it. You can see, you can feel it, you can see it. And every time you go to a higher vibration, a higher frequency, you see a little bit more of that curtain being pulled back.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, okay, now where do I go? And there are different roads that you can pick, and they all lead back to God. And they all lead to a spiritual life. And in your own way, in your own time, you will be on that path. It's not something that you can plan for. The poet Robert Burns wrote, man proposes and God disposes. My mom changed it. Man proposes and God laughs.
Very true. Very, very true. Connie, I have to ask you, in the moments that we are having now, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of conflict, there's a lot of division. How can we consistently return to love in those
I
moments?
don't
Because
think
that
that
is
we,
the only
I
answer.
don't think that we can,
Okay, explain.
because on the earth plane, we have really not seen unconditional love.
Mhm.
We have seen conditional love. If you do this for me, I will love you. If you withdraw that love from me, I'll withdraw my love from you. Well, that's conditional. So the only way I can describe this now is that the ascended masters are on the higher octave of love, the highest octave of love.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't get to that until we become an ascended master. So that's what our soul is taking us to. Or I shouldn't say our soul. The soul changes with each incarnation because it has different purposes. The spirit, on the other hand, the one that's of God, never changes. So everything that we have ever accomplished is still with us from its inception. And that's encouraging because you say, okay, I learned this many years ago. It looks familiar. I can't put my finger on it, but it feels right. Then they go further along the path, and all of a sudden, a door opens and they start to see things differently. It's like looking at yourself when you're 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've changed a lot from the time you were 15 years old, and your thoughts have changed a lot from the time you were 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That is evolution. That is what we're going through now. So we can say, I wouldn't have done that 15 years ago. I wouldn't have done that 25 years ago. But all of a sudden, I'm seeing it differently. And yeah, I don't have to be afraid of this. I've seen behind that curtain. I see it very clearly. I want to go toward it. And it has no room for fear. It has no room for doubt. It has to be unshakable faith in God. And that's our higher self. That's the part that says, this is forever. This is not, you're not just waiting at a train stop. This is now. And spiritual is as spiritual does. And you can't pick and choose. It doesn't happen that way. So yeah, there are going to be rough spots. And it means that we're in a learning process when we see these rough spots coming up in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do come, we have to do something positive to make it happen. We have to say to ourselves, okay, this is happening for a reason. Why am I not getting the job that I applied for? I've been waiting for more than a year, applying to 1,000 different jobs. Why am I not getting any responses? Why is that not happening? I have to earn a living somehow. And all I can think is, it's not happening because it's not supposed to happen right now. Maybe there's something bigger and better waiting for you, and it's waiting for the right time. And people are very impatient about that. They don't want to wait for the right time. They want it right now.
I know the feeling.
When you would say to me, when am I going to be famous?
Oh, God. Oh, Connie, don't bring that up. And now it's the opposite.
My first directing job of a
and now it's I'm a complete it's the complete opposite. I don't want any fame. I rather be in the shadows, behind the scenes. I rather not be in front of the camera. But yet,
that's now.
Yeah, now that's it. But back then, I was all about,
you were 23 years old.
I was 23. I was 4 years before I got into that whole mob movie thing and all of that situation that I got into. It was a different time of my life because I was a young man and it's the glitz and the glamour of Hollywood and wanted to be famous and wanted to be a famous director and all these kind of things. But I think every director, especially at that age, is looking for that. Not all, but many are looking for that kind of like, oh, I want to be like Steven Spielberg. I want to be like George Lucas. I want to be like James Cameron or Robert Rodriguez or some of these very famous directors. But now it's literally complete opposite. I don't. If the 23-year-old me had this show and had the attention or the spotlight that we have on the show and on me, I would have self-destructed. 100 and completely self-destructed. I would have walked into every room and going, hi, I got 1 million subscribers, right? Hey, this is that's the way I would lead every conversation. I would literally probably get a t-shirt that said it. I would have been so obnoxious back then. Where now I never say a word about any people ask me what I do who are not in, and I'm like, I work in media. You know,
I didn't even know how to describe myself. They say, what do you do? And knowing that in Florida, if I told anybody what I did, I'd be in jail.
you're a consultant. You're a consultant.
Yes.
You're a witch, but a consultant.
Well, which was when I was in Salem, Massachusetts.
That was
That was
another
life.
life. That's another podcast.
That was a different life. And
I
I
think,
know I was burned at the stake.
oh,
I don't want to
lovely.
repeat that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, Connie, I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all my guests, and I'd love your answers to these, but there are a couple new ones. What is your definition of living a fulfilled life?
Reaching the ascended master state.
Finding enlightenment, essentially,
Yeah.
to remember who you truly are. Got it.
Yeah.
If you had a chance to go back in time and speak to little Connie, what advice would you give her?
Don't grow up.
It's a trap. They're lying to you. Stay young as long as you can. Have fun. Don't become a grown up. There's taxes. There's so much crap. Bills. I don't want to do it.
Well, you asked what I would tell little Connie if I could do
I
it
would
over again.
that's not a bad idea. How do you define God or source?
I don't know that I could.
That's a common answer. It's okay.
I just know that when I think of God, I feel fulfilled.
Beautiful answer. What is love?
It occupies every space inside of my body, inside of my head,
Hmm.
inside of everything that I do. And if I haven't done well enough that day, I don't compare myself to somebody else. I compare myself to myself from the day before. Am I better than I was yesterday? Not as good as I was yesterday?
Hmm.
What is my plan of action? How am I going to make it better?
Right.
And I do this on a daily basis.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Next question is, what is love?
I can only tell you from a earthly point of view, because I don't think that anybody on earth has ever really felt love as the ascended masters do, because they are on the highest octave of love.
Mhm.
So they see love in its perfected beauty. We be attracted to someone, feel affection for that person, but it's conditional. If I do this, will you love me?
Right.
You know, how can I be me and still be loved by you? That's really what it comes down to.
Beautifully
So
said.
it's not what other people think about you. It's what you think about yourself. And I think that part is very important for people to understand. Because if you don't think of yourself as a spiritual being, you're not going to get there. But if you see yourself as someone who is reaching for perfection, internally reaching for perfection, you will get there. You will learn the lesson. You will learn the lessons along the way. It's a very steep learning curve,
And then some.
but it's not impossible.
Mhm.
Everything that we do in life is possible. There's no such thing as can't do.
Hmm.
If the mind conceives it, you can achieve it.
Beautifully said, Connie. If you could ask God or source one question, what would it be?
Well, knowing my impatient streak,
Hmm?
tell me how I can get to the highest level of consciousness fast.
Fast. I'm tired of this. Let's move it along. Let's move it
Uh-huh.
along.
I want it
Uh,
yesterday. I don't want to wait for tomorrow. I want it yesterday.
and Last question. What is the ultimate purpose of life?
Being one with God.
Can't say it any better than that. Where can people find you? I'm going to ask you this question, but I'm going to answer it for you because I know you're not going to say anything of help to yourself. So I'm going to market you. I usually
Yeah.
ask, where can people find more about you and the amazing work that you're doing in the world? But I'm going to answer that question for you because I don't even think you know. The
Right.
website, right? Am I
Right.
correct?
I have never written my own website.
Okay,
I
good.
don't know what to say about me.
So the website is I actually created a hot link for you, nextlevelsoul.com/Connie. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Nextlevelsoul.com/Connie. There you'll be able to book time with her if you want to book a consultation with Connie for an hour or two. You can get information there. You have links to some of her books that are available on Amazon. And you can also read on that page, if I'm not mistaken, you can also read articles that she has written for Next Level Soul years ago when we were first starting out, but they're amazing articles. So if you are interested in spending some time with Connie and want to book some time, and by the way, every time she's a rock star, she's a rock star, she's a celebrity now. It's very difficult. I can't believe I'm even talking to her. She gets
Oh,
booked up.
yeah, right.
She gets booked up extremely fast. So if you are interested in getting a consultation from Connie, I would act on it fast because I mean, Connie and I both look at it. We're like, Jesus, it's been pretty insane how fast. And you
It's
also do a lot of. It's amazing how fast you get booked up and how long you get booked. I mean, you're talking about 6 months, a year, sometimes. Um,
yeah.
it's pretty fast. So if you're interested, there I would definitely reach out. Nextlevelsoul.com/Connie. I'm your PR. I'm like your hype person, Connie. I'm like the Flavor Flav. I don't know, you know who that is, but of you. He was like one of the great hype men of all time in the hip hop world. That's who I am for you, Connie.
Never
And do you have
market me
any?
the way you market me. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, and before we leave, I mean, you have been recognized in public, right?
No, no.
You said no. You had some people talk to you like, "Aren't you from Next Level Solar?" You said something about next, like, I see you on Next Level
Oh,
Solar.
oh, that.
Yeah. Oh, that. Yeah. Oh, that.
No, no. He heard my voice
Okay.
and he said, don't you have a radio program? And I
Not for a long
did.
time.
I had two radio programs that were 8 o'clock in the morning during drive time and midnight, which was called Midnight Hour. But no, I keep a very secluded life. So people
I know.
they
I
don't
know.
know.
I know. But when people do call you, it's almost like they're fans. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm talking to the Connie. Oh my
Yes.
God."
In fact, one of the people very recently, like the last few months, said, I have an appointment with you, but I'm very nervous. And I said, why are you nervous? He said, because I know that you're going to upset my whole life. You're going to turn my whole life upside down.
You know,
So I'm nervous.
listen, take it from somebody whose life has been turned upside down multiple times because of you. Um, it is not fun, but it is necessary.
Yeah.
And you are a catalyst in a lot of people's lives. You were a catalyst in my life, in ways that I can't even explain. Um, I have nothing but love for you, my dear. You are one of the most important people in my life. Thank you for everything you've done, not only for me in my life, but an extension of what your homework assignment that your channel gave you, that I've become this extension of your homework assignment, but to get the word out and to help people shift to a higher consciousness so we can not only save humanity, but save the planet, save where we're going, and continue to move forward in hopefully a positive way. And that's all due to you. So I pay nothing but honor and homage to you, Lord Connie. Uh, I know. Not Lord, excuse me, Queen Connie. I apologize for everyone listening. She's not a Lord, it's Queen Connie. But I know, so, and all joking aside, I appreciate you and I love you very, very much. So thank you for
And I
everything you're
love
doing.
you.
And do you have any parting messages for the audience?
No matter how rocky your path is, don't give up. Don't despair. Don't lose hope. Know that if it's not going your way, there's a reason for it. You may not see it right away. It may be time sensitive, so to speak. But as long as you know that you're going in the right direction, keep that hope burning inside of you. And you will achieve it. So the things that I see coming for us follow that same trajectory. We're going to hit some rocky patches, and I expect that. But everything is possible. Nothing is impossible, and we can't do it.
Connie,
I
thank you
refuse.
again.
I refuse to be a victim, and I think that part is very important. Now, don't laugh, because
Very
that is
true.
one of the things that's behind fear.
Of course.
Fear, as you know, is very difficult to traverse. It's very difficult to see it inside of yourself and know that you can overcome it.
If I may quote Yoda, I think this is a good quote to end this conversation with, is that fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. And people have to understand that. And hopefully the answer to all of those is love, and understanding who you truly are. Connie, I love you so much, my dear. Thank you again for not only coming back on the show, but for everything you've done for me in my life, and in an extension, what you've done for the planet by putting me on this path of this ridiculous podcast that I have to do all the time. I was very happy in my filmmaking world, and you threw me into this spiritual stuff. And now my life is turned upside down. So I appreciate that. No, all joking aside, I appreciate you so much, Connie. Thank you again. And hopefully I look forward to our next conversation.
You were the best thing my channel has ever thrown at me. You were so easy to train.
My wife would disagree with you, but that's another conversation for another podcast.
Never mind. When we get finished, I'll hang up and I'll call you wife.
I love you. Thank you again so much, my dear.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.